Welcome to the Root of It All podcast with Tree, where you will learn new habits for human betterment. We talk about all things related to personal growth, and everything is on the table. Each episode will explore different topics like self-care, mindfulness, goal setting, and more, with a focus on practical tips and actionable advice you can start implementing in your life today. Our goal is to help you become the best version of yourself and live a more meaningful life. So grab a drink, cozy up, take your dog for a walk, or go for a drive. Join us for some fun and meaningful conversations with some amazing humans. Let's grow together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Root of It All with Tree. And today I am here and I'm super excited to share this amazing human with you all. And so this is Chelsea Ladd, and she is the owner of Radius, which is considered vibe dining. So vibe dining, I'm sure she's going to explain what that is to us because that's very cool. But it's a very upbeat restaurant in downtown Burlington on Brant Street. So if you haven't been, go check it out for sure. But one of the reasons I'm very excited for her to come on to this podcast is to share a ton of stuff that she's really good at and to share about how it is that she got good at it. So we can all learn off of her in a very vast way in terms of implementing it into your work, into your everyday life. So welcome, Chelsea. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Tree. I've been so excited to sit down and chat with you. I feel obviously that's all we've done since we met. We could go on for hours and hours. So I'm glad to have hit record and capture some of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so valuable. Actually, that's true. Even all the conversations that we've had in terms of just humans, human behavior, growth, lots of different themes that we're also going to touch on today. So, the first one, tell us about Radius.
So Radius is our restaurant. There's two locations. So the original location started about 13 years ago, downtown Hamilton, which is where my family is from. And we stumbled upon it. Well, not stumbled upon it. We knew about it because it has such a great brand name. While we were out for dinner as a family, that's something that we do quite often. We had, purchased a golf course a few years prior to that, and my family really liked the furniture in the restaurant, so we got in touch with the owners. And during that conversation, there was, the ask, "Hey, would you have any interest in purchasing our restaurant?" And so, what Radius does is a little bit of everything. So we do brunch, lunch, dinner. We have an amazing happy hour. In the evenings, we do is called vibe dining, which you mentioned. So for us, it's all about vibe, right? Every time you go into a restaurant, there's a few things that are extremely important. Obviously, the quality of the food, the service that you're getting. But the atmosphere is also a really big piece of it. And for us, it's all about creating these remarkable experiences and bringing people together in celebration. So we typically are able to host and be able to serve a lot of birthday parties, anniversaries. We just did a wedding this past weekend. So it's really, about creating a vibe and atmosphere where everybody's enjoying themselves and, having fun, not just with the group that's sitting at their table, but everybody in the building. And you can feel it when you walk in there. That's a common, piece of feedback that I get from people in the restaurant, that wow, the vibe in here is amazing.
Mm. And a huge part of that vibe is the humans that are running it. So your staff, and we're gonna loop back to your staff, but I want to talk about you first, is that the interesting thing and what I teach a lot of like salespeople, business owners, and things like that is changing the energy of the room. And that's through interaction, it's through just jumping in with people. And I use the word confidence, but it's more than confidence. It's really being okay with self and others when we're actually doing things. So teach us a little bit about that in terms of your way of just jumping in with people.
Yeah. So prior to being a restaurant owner, I had a corporate sales career, multiple different industries. But I think it goes, I not think, I know it goes back even further than that for me. So I um, went to 7 different schools. I moved around quite a bit when I was growing up. And, you know, in transition, even as an adult, it can be difficult when you walk into a room full of people you don't know. As humans, we are constantly striving for connection. And so I developed the skill very early on because of moving around so often. So with moving around, you're constantly being put into environments with people you don't know and looking for friends. So I learned the skill very quickly of how to approach.
So the vibe of Radius is absolutely amazing and it's really welcoming. And a lot of that has to do with you and how it is that you run your staff. So teach us about how it is that you got really comfortable being around people, interacting with people.
Yeah, I know it goes back to very like early age and early days. So I come from really large families. My mom's a Portuguese side. There's about 35, 40 of us at any given holiday event. We still get together. And then on my stepmom's side, big Italian family, same thing. So I think just socialization as a young child, definitely I was made comfortable by spending a lot of time with different family members. But then I also moved around quite a bit growing up. And so I went to 7 different schools. And
Wow.
when go and move and you have to get a whole new set of friends, you need to learn very quickly, or I felt it was important for myself to learn very quickly how to connect with people, um, and read them really well and be able to understand, okay, this is the mean girl of the school and you don't want her on your bad side. So, you need to, but this is also the kind of relationship that you're going to have with that person. But then this person over here, we share the same values. And they were like, hey, Charles, why don't you come sit and have lunch with me today? You learn very quickly. Um, I didn't really have a choice. It was kind of that, or I was going to go another year without having friends. So I think that that's really where it started. Um, and through that process and meeting so many different people, you realize that we're all the same. And I think that that's a really big piece of how I am so comfortable with people is, rem- you know, it doesn't get easier. Like if I have to walk into a big room of people I don't know, I still feel that nervousness, but then I also get excited because I love learning about people and people want to talk about themselves and they want you to get to know them. So if you can tap into that, um, it becomes a lot of fun and less about it being like a scary thing.
Yes, and I love what you're saying in terms of like a fun point of view. Because it is true. If people look at it from a nervous point of view or insecurities, then it's going to hold them back from actually interacting with people. And
Mhm,
the cool thing, like the high level of what it is that you're talking about, is you learn at a very young age how to walk into a room full of people and read the room very quickly. So, as a restaurant owner, that's a huge skill that people need to have. Because if, say, a restaurant owner steps into the room and they end up in insecurities, they're going to feel like they're judged. They're going to treat their staff differently as if they are being judged. And
mhm,
that's really for any business owner. If a business owner thinks that their staff is either judging them or they're getting into insecurities in terms of if they think they're being judged, then what we do as human beings is we deflect, distort.
mhm,
And so the great thing about you is that you've settled into this humbleness of humanity. And you and I have had this conversation a couple times in terms of we genuinely love and care about all human beings.
mhm,
So that foundation, when you're walking into a room, you're coming at it from that perspective where a lot of humans, they're how they operate is they're looking at what's wrong with it. So
mhm,
a lot of people, if they've spent a lot of time in either like a higher level of education details and they're looking at what's wrong, then even in their everyday human life of interaction with other human beings, they're also looking at what's wrong, as opposed to the way that you and I operate. You look in, you read the room, and your first is like, okay, where's the fun?
Yes.
And you step in with that energy, you step in with that mood. Of course, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong in a day, like with a restaurant, food order, or a staff member doesn't show up, or the beer that you had on tap, you ran out of, or you ran out of something in the kitchen, or any multiple things can happen, electricity going out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like all of these things. But when you look at it from fun and you have that mood, then your staff and the people coming to the restaurant are in that mood as well.
Yeah, you set the tone, right? As the leader for sure.
Just read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
You set the tone, and you said the word energy, and I was going to bring that up if you didn't mention it, but it really is an energy that you go in with. And sometimes I have to give myself a pep talk before I go into the building, because I had something in my personal life, or a call about, our water heater not working or something, right? And it's very easy, excuse me, to bring that in with you. It's almost like you have to leave it at the back door, leave it at the front door. And it's funny that you said, something might happen. It's like I go in with the mentality of something is going to happen. And when it happens, we'll figure it out, versus trying to be like, I hope nothing happens today. I hope it all goes perfect. The reality is that it's not going to. And so even by trying to avoid it from happening, it brings this energy of like fear, as opposed to when it happens, we'll figure it out. And until then, we're just gonna dance up and down the restaurant and have fun with everybody. So it's yeah, the energy sets the tone for sure.
Absolutely. And in the Burlington Hypnosis Center, and even like business growth results, that it's really a choice. Like what we're teaching people is they can choose to worry,
Hmm.
or they can choose to have fun and be in the moment.
Hmm.
So you choose all the time to have fun, be in the moment, even if you're in, and I'm just sort of breaking it down for people that are, excuse me, for people that are listening to this, that when you choose fun, that life is just a lot more easier, even from a nervous system perspective. And when we are in worry, people around us, it's almost like an energetic thing. We've all
Hmm.
walked into a room and just felt the vibe of the room and just thought, oh, not today,
Hmm.
kind of thing. And then either left or stick handled through it or whatnot.
Hmm.
But it's so amazing that us as humans, that we can totally control that within ourselves, and even within the room that we're stepping into.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about you, Chelsea, is that there's no ego there. It's really with you, and what I want people to learn from this is that you're choosing it and there's no ego. Like it's literally from just the love of all humans. Let's just all have fun.
Mhm.
Let's just all enjoy the moment. And so, from you being a restaurant owner and coming at it from that perspective, it really makes for a successful restaurant, because people just want to go not only for the food, which is fantastic, by the way. If you are in Burlington, go to Radius. It was fantastic, but it is the vibe. And it's so cool that you call it vibe dining. Like, go ahead.
It literally came from that. And, I think it's also interesting to note for everybody listening, the restaurant, we opened November 30th, and we had a very successful launch, and it happened all very quickly. And if you had told me a year ago that I was going to be an owner of a restaurant in Burlington, I would have laughed at you, because I had a whole other, kind of plan and direction into how I thought I was going to get into the family business. And I didn't think that it was going to be at this point. Um, and I had never served. I don't bartend. I've never run a building before. In my corporate career, I was always kind of leading myself. So this is the first time I've had, a team of people underneath me in a, really kind of formal way. But it's so I step into the room at the restaurant, but also into life with a few different mantras. I have a couple little tattoos, but this one is my favorite, one of my favorites. It's
So
on my
for
right.
people, yeah, so for people that are listening, she's showing me that there's this little small red heart on her right hand in the fleshy part in between her thumb and first finger. So,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, go.
And the heart faces me because in order to lead with love, which is what this is, so in business or especially at the restaurant, you're constantly meeting people and shaking hands, and the first thing they touch is my heart because I'm leading with it, but it faces me because in order to do so, you have to love yourself first. So it's this fine balance of loving everybody, leading with love, but then also, needing to have enough space that you love yourself too. And you're not just constantly, people pleasing and doing everything for everybody, which I've done before and still do.
Yeah, and yeah, not only am I like part of that group, I'm the president of that club too. Yeah, so like, and but it is part like being a pleaser. There's great things about it because,
Hmm.
but it's a you also need to be able to put boundaries up where they need to be. Um, and if people are pleasing too much, they're not allowing the people around them to actually grow and learn what they need to grow and learn. So I want to loop back to this. You have to love yourself in order to, share that love with other people. And people, I tend to kind of throw their, oh, love yourself and things like that. It's like telling somebody, oh, well, just be happy. So it's really about learning how it is to do that. Because from an energetic point of view, if all of us as human beings, if we learn how it is that it feels to love yourself, then it's learning the pathway and how to do that over and over and over again.
Hmm. Yeah.
Also, yeah, and that's where a lot of people come into the Burlington hypnosis or really enjoy to be at radius around your energy and the energy that you've created within the restaurant because it does have that sense of love. And love can be, for some people, they're afraid of the word love. So love can be compassion, love can be a grounding, love can be spirituality, love can be just this sense of connection, of acceptance. So love can be many, many things for many people. So if you're listening to this, be curious of what your version of this is. What allows you to settle into yourself? So teach us about the moment, like before we started recording, you were telling me about this bee thing and you wearing a yellow shirt and you're settling into, so your way of settling into your own love before you're choosing to step into whatever it is that you need to do. And then this two-part question, right? So
Yeah.
first, settling into what you need to do, and then the second part is what is your process to transition into your sort of everyday life and what's going on with your life, whether it's going sideways, upside down, backwards, or it's like straight up all good. But when it's upside down and backwards, what is it that you do? Like you said that you do a pep talk, but is there something else that you do to transition into that and just go and do what you need to do?
Yeah. Okay. So the bee thing. So prior to Radius, I was working with this amazing brand. I absolutely love them. This is not a paid sponsorship. I just like am a diehard beekeepers fan. Um, I'm also a nutritionist. So I have a passion for,
I did
wellness.
not know that. I didn't,
No?
no, I did not know that. Okay,
Okay,
cool.
well,
Awesome. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, my mom growing up as a holistic nutritionist, she wasn't practicing. She actually went just to be able to better like me and my brother's health and lives. But we always kind of had more of a going the natural route background. And so that's just, a big piece of who I am. Um, And through my, my lifetime, I've had my own things. So I struggled with eating disorders for a really long time. So reframing my relationship with food, really interesting. I'm a restaurant owner now and I love to eat. And there's, we could go on and on about that. But so anyhow, I'm in my corporate career. I'm getting super burnt out. I'm working for companies and brands that, I maybe don't 100% align with all of the values on. And for all the salespeople out there, that's like super important. You're
Yeah.
not always going to be 100% aligned with everything, but in the mission, values, culture, the actual quality of the product, the service that they're getting, it's my recommendation to be as aligned as possible with as many of those categories, because from there you can just sell from the most authentic place. And just build the most trust, because energetically people can tell that you believe in everything that you're saying.
That's
Um,
that foundationally, that alignment needs to happen in order to step into where it is that you're stepping into
yeah.
for like just you teaching us how it is that you operate in terms of stepping into a room and being so comfortable is the values alignment needs to be there so that you're finding those connections to be able to present and change the energy of wherever it is that you're going or doing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it again, like it again sets the tone for the whole, sales relationship, sales call, because uh, people are constantly, like you were saying, right? People are constantly looking for what's wrong. So if you're going in and you know what, this new product that my company rolled out, I don't 100% back it. If you
Mhm.
go in there and your focus is only around this new product because that's what you have to sell, you're gonna have a really tough time. And your customers are gonna feel it because they're so used to the energy that you have around other things. So even with that product, there's got to be one ingredient or something about the packaging or the way that it pairs really well with another product that you like. Um, that's the route that I would have gone to sell. Now I'm getting really into the sales conversation. I want to bring it back around. So I left my corporate career just from being burnt out, really wanting to do something that I was, a little more behind. And I think just also in my personal journey with food, the going back to school to officially get my nutrition certification was tied up in there. But when I left, or when I graduated, sorry, so this would have been 2018, was right when my family was transitioning to ownership of the original location in Hamilton. And so I was, maybe wanting to start up a corporate division of my company called the Soulful Company, which is also in transition and evolution right now. It's a personal brand, but
And
originally I was gonna
people
do,
can follow you on Instagram
at the Soulful Co. And so, while I was starting to kind of structure out, because I came from corporate and I knew how burnt out you can be in all of these things, I was like, oh, okay, this is a really great tool because I'll know where the money is. I'll know how to find these people, and I can teach them something they don't know in a really fun way. So anyhow, well, while I'm doing that, family's like, hey, Chels, can you help us out just part-time? Then that way that gives you time to do what you got to do. Um, and if you know anything about family businesses, that's never how it goes. And so the part-time turned into extremely full-time. Um, and I was doing things that, I didn't 100% love, and that's going to happen and that's okay. And it just wasn't the right time. And I knew that energetically for myself. And so I said, hey, family, love you. You guys do your thing, and I'm going to go and pursue something really important to me in nutrition. And when the timing is right, we'll come back together. So the in between from 2018 to getting back into the family business in 2023 was this amazing company, Beekeepers Naturals. So by the time I hit this sales job, I had had 10 years experience. I knew what I was doing. Um, I'm a nutritionist, so I can speak to the product in a very different way, but it
there
was
was
still
tons of alignments, lots
tons
of
of
things.
alignment, but the
Yeah.
products were still fairly new. And what I was responsible for when I came in was growing the brand in Canada. So we were at kind of a couple of few of the key retailers, but we were starting to go from the smaller one-off independent health food stores into the larger retailers like Sobeys and Fortino's. When I left, we were talking to Walmart and Costco and Superstore. So, those are big jumps. And so how do you create buy-in? How do you get people to remember who you are? Because these places are being bombarded by tons of brands all the time, really great ones, not so great ones. And, anything in sales is about that relationship.
So the cool thing what you're talking about is you're giving people an experience
Mm.
so they remember you. And that's a key component with um any of the either sales or business owners that I work with, and you actually train your staff of like giving them an experience,
Yeah.
right? Giving people an experience, which is huge. So that's awesome. So keep going, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with the company being called Beekeepers Naturals, when you think of bees, you think of yellow. And I had this photo from a photo shoot that I did with my friend, and I had this yellow, and I used to not wear a lot of color. Like I was really more into like the neutrals, black, white, and let my personality speak. But I just happened to have this one yellow jumper, and it was this one photo, and everybody laughs at me because they call it the Chelsea face. It's like in a lot of pictures. And one of the things that I used to do in my corporate career, especially when you're doing a lot of cold calling through email, was I had a picture of myself in my signature. And if you have this picture of this girl in this bright yellow jumper, like, there's only so many times that you're not going to respond to the email before you start feeling bad. Or if we've never met before and then I walk into your store, maybe you're not going to remember my face, but the bright yellow shirt or the color yellow, you're going to be like, oh, wait a second. I remember that email from that girl, because not a lot of people, it's more common now, but when I first started doing this, having a photo in the email signature was like, oh my God, this is great. So yeah, so the association with the color, and then that just continued. And so, we'd be on the trade show floor with tens of thousands of people, and there would be Chelsea walking through in a bright yellow, one-piece jumpsuit, and everyone would know that's the girl from Beekeepers. Or, as time went on and the longer you work in the industry, you get to know people on a one-on-one basis. But the way that you present yourself, and for me also, like I have a love for fashion. I feel it's an expression of who I am. Um, but it's also a great tool to get people to remember you. They may not remember your name. They may not even remember the company that you work for, but they're going to be like, oh, that girl that wore, that super awesome bag that I really liked, or that really cool shirt. Especially in a corporate setting, there's a lot of navy, white, black, gray. So when you walk in and you're wearing something that really stands out, you're automatically gonna grab people's attention. So it's a great tool to get through the door.
100%. And it's interesting for us as humans from like a human behavior perspective that we notice things that are a little bit out of the ordinary,
Hmm.
right? Something that stands out. Even from a marketing perspective, there's lots of studies when it comes to humans and where our eyes go when we're looking at marketing collateral.
Hmm.
And it's also too that what being a salesperson, you're a walking, talking marketing collateral,
Yeah.
basically. So, and it's brand recognition. So you, even as a salesperson, you're creating your own brand that
Hmm.
people will remember. And um, it is true that even part of the experience that you were giving people that when so as a human behavior perspective, when people see something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, all of a sudden it allows that person's nervous system to calm down even more, especially if they are uncomfortable in social situations. Because
Hmm.
all of a sudden, the attention is going to the most, and my best friend well, not like in a loving way, she makes fun of me because I always have the obnoxious purse or or the obnoxious piece of jewelry or something, or
Yeah.
the like something. And I always, and she'll be like, oh, so what are we wearing? I'm like, obnoxious pants and purse. And she's like, all right, got it. Like she knows exactly what it is that I'm wearing. And even like from even friends, there's always that one friend that's going to get all the attention. And then the other people, it's like, ooh, okay, that they feel comfortable and safe because
Mhm.
they're not the center of attention. They don't have to be the one that comes up with where are we going? Who are we seeing? Right. So you're probably that person in your friend group too, that you just like, yeah, we're going here. Cool. And they just go because they feel safe that you have it all handled. And I'm that same person in my friend group too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a comfort thing as well because when as a business owner you want your staff to know that whatever it is that you're saying you're like yep they've had enough experiences with you telling them what to not telling them what to do but guiding them along of what needs to happen in the moment and it work out beautifully. So
Mhm.
dovetailing back to what you initially said about you're going into work, whatever happens you just figure it out, you have the confidence to figure it out, it's no big deal, and you the mood in which you bring to that approach is in alignment with the values and all the other things that you were talking about. And also too, and again I kind of veer away from using the word confidence because it's again that word of like we'll just be happy.
Mhm.
We'll just love yourself. That there's more to that, it's just a word and that word needs to actually have a process behind it, because if you don't have a process behind it then that's where people get stuck in their own nervous system. They get stuck in life. They get stuck in lack of growth. And that's unfortunate. So the great thing about you, Chelsea, too, is that you can see somebody that and because you can read the room and not only read the room, but you can read the person of like, oh, and then you're guiding them along through to confidence, to self-love,
Mhm.
to happiness. And there's all kinds of other words. These are just three examples.
Yeah.
Okay. So the big thing that I want people to take away from this podcast is to really be curious of the little nuggets that you heard from Chelsea of what can you take from her experiences and find your own process to step into your own confidence, your own self-love, your own, what was the third one? Like your own happiness. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, woo, there you go. It's like and so it's because if we don't find our processes of how to do this, then we are already in a culture that's so shaken up from what's been happening over the past 3, 5 years. And people are sort of stuck in emotions or stuck in their nervous system in an unuseful place.
Mhm.
And that's the greatest thing of your restaurant. And I'm sure there's others, but I hear from a lot of other business owners of restaurants that of finding the staff, finding and where it's not finding, it's getting the human and getting them to learn their own process.
Mhm.
And anyone that's listening to this, like Chelsea's just nodding her head and smiling because I get a sense that you don't realize what it was that you were doing, but this was your magic wand of what it is that's happening.
I didn't at first, but it's interesting because well, we met at the restaurant. And
Yeah.
even in our initial interaction, or at least my memory of it, because it was like a busy Friday or Saturday night, I'm just like walking up and down the restaurant and um, touching tables, checking in. Hey, how's it going? GMing. And I remember you saying to me, can I give you some feedback or can I offer you some feedback? And initially my brain automatically went to, okay, there's something went wrong. You're upset about something. Like, of course. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
notice that like your brain automatically went to something went wrong, but
yep.
then go ahead. What
So
did I
it automatically went to something went wrong, but then instantly it shifted into, okay, how are we going to turn the situation around, even if it did? And then it didn't.
it wasn't
No,
it
it
was
wasn't at
positive
all.
feedback.
It was positive, amazing feedback. But I think that's also something really interesting, or not interesting, but like really important to note is, you know, yes, I have a lot of confidence, for lack of a better word, right now in doing these things. But even for me, who is super confident in it and is a leader in my building, and that's my job, like that happens all the time. And so it's this, you're talking about finding this process. For me, it's like awareness that it's happening, set that down. What are we going to do about it? How can I make sure that everybody else in the situation, how do I shift their energy? Like, for example, right? If something is going wrong with the table, my team member will come up to me. I can tell they're flustered. Oh my God, Chelsea, this is what's going on. They're super pissed off, whatever. So I'm going into the conversation already knowing, okay, they're upset. I have the information as to why, or I'm going to go find out. But it's also in how I approach the table. So if I know somebody's going to be upset, I
And
go in the same way that if they're not.
I want to add one thing, because one thing
Yeah.
there's something that you do, and I don't know if you're aware of what you do, but you first get yourself grounded. You
Mhm.
see somebody is flustered, you take in the information, but you stay in this ego neutral, you stay in this very humble place. And there's something that you do that keeps you there. And yeah,
So when my team comes to me, I know that even if I am freaking out over what's happening, that if I allow that to come through, that I'm not going to be able to calm them down. And so I also want it to be a learning and training, because, I can't be there all the time forever. And so, yes, I can go out and put the fires out, but I need them to witness and see what happens because at the end of the day, when somebody's upset, it's either for a super valid reason, and then of course we need to make it right. But sometimes people they just are upset, and it doesn't even actually have anything to do with the restaurant or what's going on. They just are having a bad day and they feel like they need to take it out on somebody or something. And so it just happens to be us. And they just want somebody to listen to them and say, I'm really sorry that you had that experience. um, I typically don't say I'm sorry unless we really are and there's something that we did. But as all business owners know, there are lots of times when, you need to say your version. That's always been my favorite thing, especially in sales. I'm sorry that that was your experience. Thank you for the feedback. This is what we're going to learn from it. What can we do to make it right for you? And sometimes when you ask people that, they're like, what do you mean? What can you do to make it right for me? Because they're not expecting you to say that. Um, so that'll be something interesting for me to take home as homework tree. It's what do I do?
yeah, because also everything what you just said, there's a tone to that too,
Hmm.
right? And that tone is that piece of groundedness. So even though, yeah, it's a natural thing, lots of people, we're not meant to be comfortable with confrontation. Who is, right? Um, there, like with the confident level, you're totally good with it. You can handle it. You've had proof that things, for the most part, always generally work out. So that also is part of your confidence, because you know that you've experienced it enough.
Yes.
And but yeah, I am curious, and even people that are listening to this, what is it that all of us as humans, so you, Chelsea, even myself, like I can, because for me, my process is I recognize it. I always use breath, right? And I have this way of using either visualization or from a kinesthetic nature for physical to literally ground myself. And I quickly go back to a few experiences that I've had that I was in confidence or that I was in love energy. So I pick a few of these. So happy, love, confidence. These are three key things. And if other words resonate with other people, but you're literally putting the, I don't know if the word anxiousness or the word stress, and putting it on a shelf and moving it to the side, and just sort of allowing, and this is for me, this is my process that I'm describing, that I step into even a little bit of spirituality, like trusting higher source, trusting like, yeah, Chelsea's nodding,
That's
smiling, and pointing. That's it. Ding, ding, ding.
that's
That's
mine.
it.
That's
Yeah.
100% what mine is. because I know in our last session, we walked through that exercise of like, okay, bring yourself back to a place where you're super happy. And that definitely works. I think for me in these little in the moment things though, it's 1000% my connect. Like I have always believed in the universe or Gaia or God, whatever you want to call it, something above me, higher than me. You have to just when things are not going right and you've done everything that you possibly can, or you're feeling stuck, you got to just like surrender it to,
Yep.
put my hands are up in the air because I don't know. For me, it's
Yeah.
all around me, but it's
Higher
definitely
source, raise the roof.
higher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Raise it's definitely that. And I think just it's probably been, it's a trained skill. It's something that I've been focused on, but always my whole life known, like, you just got to trust. It's not
Yeah.
easy all the time. Actually, sometimes it's really hard. But when you
But
can
you
and you get
totally
the
can.
proof, it's chef's kiss.
I love that. Chef's kiss. Maybe, you
Yeah.
know what? Maybe that's what we should call this episode. That's
Oh, I
like,
love that.
yeah, I'm gonna
And I
write
have
that
my
down.
own little, personal reminders. The 333 I wear around my neck, also a conversation starter. I can't tell you the number of times that people are like, what's the 333 all about? And then in those moments, like, you're really getting to develop this very personal one-on-one conversation with people. And again, right, like, the more that you can have those authentic conversations, obviously as a business owner, you want every conversation to be, but sometimes there's fluff, right? But if those fluff conversations can be around something where you can be like, yeah, this was gifted to me. 333 is my favorite number. It's also a reminder for me every day to like release it to higher self and universe and trust that it's going to have your back. You're creating trust and connection, and that always leads to
So
something.
that's another part. Yeah. So that's another part of your process that you have a physical, like a necklace that reminds you over, like constantly over time, that you are connected to the universe. And when we talk about higher source, it's literally about being okay with the unknown. Because so many people, they're trying to control things, which we need to be okay with having so much flexibility, because the person actually that has the most control in the room is the person with the most flexibility. And I've said that on other podcasts, and it's great repetition that it's really what people are looking for. So just one last thing, and then I've taken up so much of your time already. You're a busy person. Um, is that you role model for your staff of how to be more flexible. So when you were just saying and describing about, a situation goes wrong and you're getting the information, the mood in which you're interacting with it, the way that people are seeing you, that you're role modeling it for them so that they can even take it upon themselves to do it themselves next time,
Mhm.
right? And then they're the ones having the experiences, and then they're creating their own process through not talking. Like, so many people, they just want to like try to teach people of like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. But we learn by doing, and and by role modeling it for your staff. And maybe you don't even realize that even the little things that you do, like when I first met you, the way that you were actually physically interacting with people.
Mhm.
And us as a society right now, we need more physical touch, even if it's just shaking the hand or touching an arm or a shoulder. Like, being a restaurant owner, you're going around, you're maybe touching somebody's arm or shoulder. Hey, how's your meal? Are you did you order your drinks yet, or whatever the conversation is. But when any human touches another human being, they're nervous, and in the energy that we're talking about, like this love energy, happy energy, confident energy, it it's transferable, and
Mhm.
it completely just calms that person's nervous system.
Yeah, I'm not trained in Reiki, but I believe in it. And it's interesting that you mentioned like as a restaurant owner, but even just like my whole lifetime. I've always been that way. When I talk to somebody or when I shake somebody's hand, I'll shake their hand and I actually put my other hand on top of their other hand. So I call it a hand hug. I'm giving them a hand hug, even if
Yeah.
they're not fully aware of it. And then again, right, that's also something different than like what other people do. So there's like multiple layers to it. Um, but I've definitely always been like when I walk past you, I'll put my hand on your back, let you know that I'm there. I've got your back, right? Like these subtle undertones.
Which
Um,
which I almost think we should do a whole other podcast on this physical thing because you and I were hyper kinesthetic and we are so open for human interaction. So so we'll leave this one here, but I have an idea for a whole other podcast because you and I we can go on forever. So so I'm gonna have Chelsea's the way that you can connect with her, radius, even following her on Instagram. We'll have all of her links in the show notes. Is there one last thing really quick that you want to share with people or
the universe has your back.
Hmm,
We can thank Gabby Bernstein for that one, but the universe has your back no matter
awesome.
what.
Yep, that's 100%. That there's this higher source. And again, the more that we try to control, the less we actually have control. So just trust the universe has your back, and I love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and donating your time to help other people live and learn and grow and all of the things. So awesome.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode of The Root of It All with Tree. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. But before we go, I just wanted to remind you that you can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. And we will be posting motivational quotes and behind the scenes content that you won't want to miss. You can always sign up to come live while we're filming this, or even join us online through Zoom. We always offer open question and answer after each episode that we don't record, so it's all private, but you can get more involved. So sign up for free at businessgrowthresults.com, and we're going to cover all kinds of different topics that you're not going to want to miss. And if you're looking for that one-on-one guidance or help, be sure to book a free screening. You can do that at burlingtonhypnosis.ca or call 905-634-4777. And finally, you can catch our podcast on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.